Hello, Perceptive Reader. This is a James Poe Artistry Consultant moment, and it's actually on a subject that I haven't covered in quite some time. And yet, due to the nature of the way some people have been feeling, in my observation, even over the past year, see, it's been that long and even longer since I've talked about it. I thought I would share some of these points with you again. And this way you can at least see uh, how things just happen at times and how God is still aware of it. And yet you'll know why I will give this bit of advice that, you can either take or not take. But I'm at least going to give you the basis of why I'm giving you this advice, okay? Uh, think about it. We have to start way back, in the beginning with Adam and Eve. God set forth the miracle of life. He put all it in place and it functioned perfectly. It was perfect. It was good, okay? Now, after Adam and Eve disobeyed God and, brought upon the disease, that's what I'm going to mention it as, the disease of sin, which ends up in death. We die of old age, which God did not like at all. What He didn't like that Adam and Eve disobeyed, but He mentioned what the penalty of breaking the law of this in this matter, where they ate from that tree that He told them not to. That actually, again, still brought a judgment upon themselves. Okay, and that's the way it happened. Adam and Eve brought sin and death upon themselves. And yet, along with that rift, that fractured now, their relationship being lost with God in that way to, continue receiving eternal light and life from Him. He also mentioned how they would have a hard time now with the land. Even the land wouldn't give the produce. They would have to work hard, very hard in order to get a few things to eat out of it. I mean, that's just the way that curse on the land really sounded. He also mentioned again how, they would end up dying. He mentioned the difficulties in getting along with one another that the man and woman would now have. So he mentioned a lot of bad situations that would come about all because of what Adam and Eve did, and how it would just take longer to even resolve matters, like I was talking about with the land, where at one time something would probably grow quicker. Now, since he had to keep scratching and scraping and see what he could till up and get up out the land, hey, you see, even that would require more work than what would be normal. Now, with that being said, and with the sin and death and everything, and I remember I described sin as like a disease, because that's what tears down our cells over time, even though we were meant to live forever. But that's what sin has done. Sin has also brought about, over the ages now, many different types of offspring. That if Adam and Eve would never have disobeyed God and brought in the sin into their body, we just wouldn't have all these different types of offspring that ended up being created over the ages. Even the Bible describes some of the different types of offspring, from persons being I mean, way over 8 feet. You see what I'm saying? For some of them, the way it's described, they were very huge. Many persons think about even Goliath. And yet, even though Goliath is talked about in that famous account of David, there are other Bible accounts that makes it clear there were other men, not only Philistines, but in some of the battles and challenges that uh, everyday hype men of our day, so to speak, you see what I'm saying, had to deal with still some of these giants walking around, and they were from what we can see, were from reading those accounts, they were like warriors, so they were more than just basketball players. To use that expression, they were really, like I said, larger than your average man. And then some of the other things that would come about, uh, some of their strength or special power sometimes came from even extra extremities, so to speak, that their hands and feet would have, and things of that nature. Uh, Yet the way that they use their extra in height and girth and this and that, at times it goes to show they used it in a way that was still not approving of God. You see, they actually rebelled against God. We're coming way down to our day. We have people being born still in many different ways, you see, many different ways. And in some of these ways that persons are born at times, already even the parents realize after talking to the doctor that they will make certain decisions, surgeries, etc., for this reason or that way, that will take over time to actually adjust or correct this or that. And it could take all the way, starting from a young age, close to adulthood, uh, to complete. Okay, uh, some of these things here. Now, I'm about to get specific. With any type of complex matter, you never should rush to judgment. And also, people make decisions at times because, or I'm going to say it, they just do not receive the correct information. They just don't even receive the accurate information in order to make a clear, informed decision. And then, if you don't have that and you have different opinions, I'm going to say peer pressure opinions, impress upon the person one way or the other, guess what? They can end up making a decision that they really wouldn't make, but it's all through the peer pressure that was placed upon them. And I told you how powerful that can be to still make them think one way or the other. So, being specific, there are persons at times that actually have, both reproductive organs, both of them. And the thing about it is this, in general, sometimes persons actually feel a strong leaning towards one way or the other. And sometimes because of the more dominant, part of the reproductive, whether it even just looks physically dominant, because sometimes even though persons could have both reproductive organs, whenever they are actually developed in that way, it still doesn't always give them the ability to end up producing a child. And that's one of the sensitive matters that, persons who experience that really grow up dealing with. You know what I mean? But what I want to mention is this, you know, even though persons talk about making corrective, as they would use the term surgery or adjustment in this way or that way, and other terms that they use, in order to get the accurate information, in order to make sure that the person really wants to do whatever they're going to do, I'm going to have to, I'm going to have to suggest that you do give it some time, even maybe with some, when I'm emphasizing strongly, some type of spiritual reading. And I'm going to tell you why I would do spiritual reading, even from a young age. Just reading Genesis, children's stories book, or straight up out the Bible at times about Adam and Eve. Because over time, that will allow for a discussion with your child, even. When he's talking about how God made Adam and Eve, you see, eventually that's going to open the door. You see what I'm saying? To discuss that matter, because the child is going to ask, well, what is the difference, you see, between Adam and Eve? And then the conversation will end up going towards that, the child actually has both parts, if you will, that Adam and Eve actually has. You see? Now, with that being said, though, and this is what I mean with any complex matter on this level, even if the child start experiencing, peer pressure, feeling like an outsider one way or the other, or again, there's other situations that I won't go into, you will still be there to let the child know that you are really, as a loving and wise parent, saying, this is just going to have to be a decision you make when you hit adulthood. It will be on you. And I know sometimes some persons have gotten advice and they'll make it seem like it's something that should be rushed at a certain type of age. And yet, guess what? You get a second opinion and see what that second opinion say. See, that's what I mean. You can be sometimes almost like strong-armed or coerced or what have you, to make a person make a decision that, you know what, it doesn't always even need to be made. But all the same, it still gives the child a chance to go through, all whatever the hormones will be. You see what I'm saying? Whatever would happen, even emotionally, mentally, all of that ends up being involved. Where I tell you what, you may find by the time the child does hit, the later teenage years, then they will know, you see what I'm saying? Even more so, exactly whether they feel this way, one way or the other. And then they will still have some type of already spiritual training and backbone that will already work with their minds to know what they're going to do still once they end up being being an adult. Because some persons, have actually decided not to do any type of surgeries at all. And guess what? They are in their perfect rights to do so. See, that's the thing about it. They are perfectly in their rights not to do anything. You see, in that way. And the thing about it is, the same way that they respect others, we are supposed to respect persons, you see, in those type of situations as well. That's if they even decide to relate such a personal and private matter. You see what I'm talking about, perceptive reader? So anyway, anything that's as complicated or complex as this, it does not need to be, unless your doctor says so otherwise, again, which I told you will give many, I would get second and third opinions on that just to make sure. But otherwise, we already got proof of persons who never even experienced those type of so-called corrective surgeries, and they just live their lives like that for really their whole life. And so the whole thing is this: anything that is complex on this level, it does not need to be rushed, or the pressure placed upon the child or even the parent, you see, before it's time. There are some things that, again, it would be wise to let the adult decide for themselves, you see, in this way or that way. If it's not already some type of medical emergency in this way or that way. And I'm going to tell you, sometimes, again, this is what I mean by second, third, and opinion. We already know that sometimes persons will push issues to make it seem like it's a medical emergency, and it may not be. And that's all I'm going to say about this matter, because, I haven't talked about it really in a long time. And there you go. You take good care of yourself, perceptive reader. And until maybe another day or so, again, you keep on keeping on.